Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's interview. I am joined with the very lovely Vaso. Welcome, Vaso, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And today, Vaso is going to share with us her unique experiences of Dr. Robin's program and how she implemented the principles of the Thompson Method with her second baby Charles, who is 2.5 years old now. I can't believe our boys have grown up so quickly. But you're going to share your experiences today. And I'm going to start by asking if you could tell us the differences. First of all, tell us the challenges that you experienced with your firstborn.
Sure. So with my firstborn, I was relatively young and I did not have the education and the knowledge that I had with Charles to overcome some of the struggles and challenges, especially in the early days where mothers are highly overwhelmed. There's a lot of information, conflicting information. And so I was lacking that knowledge and the education that the Thompson Method provides. So it was a very different experience, and unfortunately it didn't last long. Our breastfeeding journey ended at around 5 months, but it was a very, very different experience for sure.
And 5 months is still incredible, so you should definitely be proud of yourself with that. But I can understand how you say it didn't last as long as you'd hoped for.
Exactly.
My little bean here. For those listening to that. So tell me then, the differences you say were having that preparation and probably a little bit of experience as well with your second. So tell me, in terms of the education that you were able to access upon purchasing the program, how that made a difference to you during pregnancy before you actually got the chance to breastfeed again.
Yeah, so I saw the Facebook ad. I purchased the program. I was determined to breastfeed the second time around, and I started reading through the materials. I joined the Facebook group. I was reading other people's posts and kind of quietly observing in the background. I did,
as I'm sure many of our members are watching this video.
Exactly. And I put together a birth plan, which I took to the hospital on the day of labor, and I made everyone acknowledge and sign it. And so I definitely felt more prepared. That's not to say that I did not have challenges with Charles, but I just felt more empowered and educated the second time around.
Absolutely, I can relate to that. And I remember you said to me in our messages before we spoke, you said that although you had access to the education, even knowing and being able to make informed decisions was still difficult in navigating the hospital system. It takes a lot, doesn't it, to constantly say no and constantly have to second guess everything that's being told to you. But ultimately, it's been a massive positive for you.
Absolutely. And of course, hospitals have their own procedures and they have to check off things off the list. But having that knowledge and coming in prepared and trusting your instincts is important.
I think that's something I can relate to, and many of our members actually, that something they always leave the Thompson Method community with is that actually the education, although is gold, having that trust in your instincts and being able to understand that policies, procedures of hospitals aren't law. You can say no, and you will know your baby and your body best. It's a very empowering thing to finally have that click in your mind.
For sure.
Absolutely. So there you are, baby's born. You made it clear that it wasn't smooth sailing. You had some forceful interventions during those 3 golden hours, if I'm correct. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, yes. So I did have significant nipple trauma the first days in the hospital, was taught the wrong techniques. It didn't feel intuitive. And although I had the education, I was under a lot of pressure and probably stressed during those early days. So I was following what the hospital was recommending. And so I left the hospital having significant pain. I went back home and I decided to do the rescue with Dr. Robin. I believe it was the 4th day. So baby was 4 days old. I had my rescue immediately, even during the rescue, just those little tweaks that Dr. Robin suggested made a huge difference in in my pain levels, so significantly decreased even in that first interaction with Dr. Robin. And then we had a follow-up session a few weeks later, but we were off at a very good start. And after that, I will say it's been a pretty smooth sailing. Charles is almost 2.5 now. I would have never imagined I would breastfeed for this long. I did not have a goal in mind, but definitely did not expect it for this long. So
and that's the beauty of it, isn't it? That you've been able to continue as long as you wish, as long as baby wishes to, rather than being forced to end, most likely in that very early period, because of the experiences and the challenges you were going through. And I mean, this time round, I had a wealth of knowledge and resource and information, and a very few of us, even with that, we need that extra guidance. And we're very fortunate that we have that and can access the wonderful Thompson Method practitioners. You had Dr. Robin, like myself, but we have a wonderful team of women now that are fully qualified in these one-to-one sessions, and they are game changers. Like you say, those gentle adjustments, those fine-tuning tweaks, and of course Dr. Robin's principle of the face to breast symmetry, which is the huge game changer. And there are so many resources on that included in the program, and actually if we avoid those forceful techniques, and well, it's hard to avoid those really, but if we happen to avoid them in those early days and weeks, it can drastically change the course of the journey from the get-go. So preparation is key, and having access to that support for any bumps along the road has definitely helped myself, and clearly you as well.
Yeah, and then you come in empowered and knowledgeable, and you're able to say no where you feel it's instinctively right, and make informed decisions, which is really important.
And I suppose that's the benefit of having access during pregnancy, rather than getting to baby being in your arms and then having to get through all the education then. When, like you said, from the very beginning, you're in a vulnerable place, no matter how experienced you are as a mum, whether it's baby number 1 or baby number 6, being a new mum, which you are every time you have a new baby, it is very overwhelming, and you're busy in your mind, physically, emotionally, externally as well is a very busy time. So having that support with an advocate as well, but in the connections that we have in the community, is important. So the principles of the Thompson Method, I have mentioned that a few times during our chat. How they're different, aren't they? They are quite different to what's being commonly taught in hospitals by other professionals, what other friends and women are doing currently. How has that been for you? Trying something new? What made you take the jump and trust in Dr. Robin's principles, her methods?
Yeah, so they are very different, and you have to trust yourself and your baby to do what's intuitively right. And so we introduce all these different techniques and all these forceful techniques, and nipple shields and bottles and all kinds of things that restrict the baby from doing what it's supposed to do naturally, coming to the breast. And so it just felt like a very natural way of breastfeeding without all those forceful methods. And so that alone, and of course Dr. Robin's knowledge and experience and wealth of information, that was sufficient for me to purchase the program, take the time while I was pregnant to get educated, because you do have a little bit more downtime while you're pregnant rather than after you have the baby in your arms and you're overwhelmed.
Oh, yes.
So that helped tremendously, being able to go through the program at my own time and pace while I was pregnant.
Yeah, for sure. I can relate to that. And I think as well, you're in this little cocoon, aren't you? You're pregnant, you're nesting, you're preparing. And it gives you that wave of positivity, listening to Dr. Robin's gentle voice, having access to the club and all these wonderful stories. Also seeing that if there are women that are experiencing those challenges, that they're able to access that support. And yeah, like you said, going through the education, empowering yourself, educating yourself, and it really helps you feel confident that if your plan doesn't go to plan, that you can make informed decisions in any situation. And that's what was really key for me.
Exactly. And I'm fortunate to say that being part of the academy and being a moderator in the club, I now get the opportunity to help other women that are where I was two and a half years ago, and help them through their breastfeeding journey and challenges. So
it's special to be able to give back to the community, isn't it? And what a wonderful member of the team you're making as well, for sure. And your journey in the academy, it's all exciting to see. It's not as new as it was. We're going into the second year of it now, but it's still very exciting for us all of us involved. And we're just so passionate about this work, the love behind it, the experience and the knowledge and the passion behind it. So thank you for bringing that up, Vaso, because it is very important to mention. And I mean, there are not many jobs where you can bring your little beans along with you, are there?
Adorable.
So if you've got any last words for, like you said, a member like yourself who was sitting, observing quietly, maybe they're considering purchasing the program, they're sitting on the fence, or perhaps they're not sure, why should I pay for something when there's so much free information out there already? What would you say to that?
Yeah, so I will say invest, if you're really determined to breastfeed, invest in the program, because it will pay off over time. And you do have that access 24/7 to ask questions and get guidance from professionals. So you won't hear any conflicting evidence. It will be evidence-based, and you'll get expert help. And so you're in good hands. And we have plenty of success stories out there that we can share with other members. But this program is very unique. And again, I never imagined I'd breastfeed for this long, but here I am. So that's proof that the program works, and that it's there for women who need the support and the education and the chance to breastfeed.
Absolutely. And what would you say to women who quite rightly say that breastfeeding is natural and it will come naturally, just follow your instincts, which is what we've said equally in this video. But what would you say to that?
Yeah, so there's definitely that aspect of breastfeeding where it should feel natural, right? But there's also other things that the program teaches you beyond just face-to-breast symmetry, such as, the education on bottles, teats, dummies, interventions that the hospital may force upon you, nipple shields, and so on. And so it's not just education on breastfeeding, but it also provides a holistic approach into anything that may come up in your breastfeeding journey, and how you can be prepared to make those decisions. And so
very well said, very, very true. And like you said, the interventions following birth as well as during pregnancy as well. And I like how you pointed out how we protect those in the club from the wealth of conflicting information and advice that we're given by well-meaning family members, friends, other group members. If you're in other breastfeeding groups, I'm sure you've been a victim of this, is what we call. And it's overwhelming. It's very overwhelming. So that is your message to our wonderful mums watching. My little bean is a bit and that is our message to you. Let us know if you have any questions. We are always excited to hear from you. And if you've already had baby, there may very well be lots of things you can do, some gentle adjustments to ease that pain or to work through any of those challenges. Wonderful club admin are there waiting to help you. So thank you, Vaso, so much for sharing your beautiful journey with us, and for your time as always.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.